is we'd just like to go around the table. If you could just introduce yourself, tell us who you are, where you're from, and about your store very, very quickly, and then we'll get started. Why don't we start, Tamara, why don't we start with you on the end?
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Tamara Pence. My store is Bella, the Corner Gourmet. I'm in Lewisburg, West Virginia.
Hi, I'm Nicole Carrillo, and I own Kitchens on the Square in Savannah, Georgia.
My name is Marlena Walters. We have a store called The Everyday Gourmet in Jackson, Mississippi.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Marilyn Alea, and we have the kitchen store in Moore and Acone Interiors. We're located in Eatonton, Georgia, and we have two sides of our business as well. One is the kitchen store, and one is the interior design.
Good morning. I'm Emilio Alea, sometimes known as Mr. Maryland.
I'm ordinating, and my wife and I own the Extra Ingredient in Greensboro, North Carolina at Friendly Shopping Center. We opened back in 1985.
And I'm Martha Nading. I'm the mom of the mom and pop business that we have, the Extra Ingredient. And as Art says, we've been in business for almost 29 years.
My name is Susan Green. My shop is in Birmingham, Alabama. Opened in September of 2008.
Jim Brown, Buffalo Hardware in Houston. We opened in 1946, or actually we didn't, but my dad, the store opened in 46, my dad bought it in 48.
Great. Well, we came here today to talk about building a repeat business. But you can't bring people back to your store until you get people in your store. So I'd like to just preface the conversation here and start with a little conversation about what brings people into your store. How do you get them in the door? Whether that's with your advertising or with your location, what is it about your store that brings people in that first time? Jim, why don't we just go around reverse?
Well, one of the advantages to having been around for so long is word of mouth. The Galleria, which is not far from our store, is where a lot of people from Mexico come to shop in the United States, and they're working their way down Westheimer to our store. We do some advertising. We have, longer than anybody can remember, have underwritten some of the cooking shows on our PBS station. We have tried newspaper, not the big newspaper, the Chronicle, but the neighborhood newspapers with mixed results. But I would say word of mouth is our big draw.
Okay. Susan, how about you?
We do very little, almost non-existent print advertising except our little local neighborhood newspaper. We find what brings people into our classes, into our store, are the cooking classes and the program that we've implemented where if you take X amount of classes, if you bring people to a class, there are various ways that we compensate them through free classes or discounted classes. The customer loyalty program brings people back, but it doesn't bring people in. But what we found is hugely helpful are the TV appearances that we do out of the store. The cookie classes, we say, you know, if we can get them in once, we know they'll come back, you know. And if they come back, they'll bring somebody, you know, like.
Well, I think we are very fortunate in that we're in a very, very trafficked shopping center in Greensboro, so we have a lot of foot traffic. But then the secret is how to make them come in your door without just walking by. So we have a blackboard that goes out every day. It features some item or some event or whatever's going on in the store, if it's a sale, whatever. We work really hard on our windows, window display, things that people can see inside so they might be enticed to come in.
Well, originally we did do the catalogs, but I think that one of the things that we're trying to do too in being a traffic center is getting people to understand that we are not a cookie cutter kind of store. We have Sir Law Cobb and we in Sonoma Inner Center within walking distance. So we need to stand out as the local guy. Fortunately, being there for a while has really helped. The television stations have been wonderful. They just a few weeks ago called me. We had live shots in the store for, you know, what was new for the summer, and she comes occasionally. And we have some great local publications, beautiful magazine that's sort of a lifestyle looking magazine that's free within for the Northwest Greensboro, which is a nice section of Greensboro. And so we try to advertise in those local publications that have the look that we're looking for. And I have to admit, currently we are really venturing into television because of the success of these shows, and that's something that we're really working with, and hoping that will be a way to catch new customers.
Some of what I've heard, of course, we would ditto. Having been in the community of Lake Oconee, which is about 120 miles east of Atlanta, for about 20 years now, I think has been big in that we are known in the community, and we have several other businesses and things, so that gives us, I think, a solid base with people that have been there a long time, and now we're considered as having been there. So we're known and we're active in a number of things that go on in the community. The things that was very successful for us, last year I did a series with Dr. Ramona Warren that was Dr. Ramona and Emilio in the Kitchen. That brought a lot of new people. Our focus in our store very, very often in terms of what we carry, in terms of organics and things like that, is healthy cooking styles, healthy cooking classes.
I think he about covered it all. The only one thing he didn't say is we have a strong community in our shopping center, and every first Friday of the month from April to December, we have what we host for the community First Friday, and all the vendors, all the retailers have snacks, specials, wine. We have jumping things for the kids and a band, and it's like an open street party kind of thing. And it brings people, and it's even, having said what he said, there's people that have been there 10 years and are walking, we didn't even know you were here. And you go, there's only one kitchen store in the whole little area, but they miss us. It's amazing.
To get customers in the first time, we spend a lot of money on print advertising, probably more than we should, but we found that it really does work. And what we do is, brides for us, we want them to grow up in the business. So if we can get them registered, we know that when they come back, they may need to add to their knives or their cookware or change out a table setting, that we're the location that they seek to come to. So when a couple gets engaged, and if they have a ring and a date, they register with us and we put their name in print, which we have found really works well. We have the largest independent bridal registry in the state. So we have 150, 200 brides at any given time that, people are coming, and they in turn bring other customers into the store because their friends and family want to shop for them, whether they shop online and they also come into the store. So some of them we never actually have to see the customer because they're purchasing for the bridal registry. But I'd certainly rather them be doing it with us than a bigger box store, department store, something like that. So that's worked really well for us. In addition, we just did a coupon mail out to it's like RSVP. I don't know if any of y'all know, that's a little stack of cards that various vendors do, and it's discounts or advertising. And we've seen a lot of new customers that we've never had before. And I think that we may have the perception of being very expensive, and people may be afraid that we're out of their range, but when they get in there, see that we do have same offerings as many of these other stores. It's just a more concise selection and a prettier presentation than what they're accustomed to.
That note, what's becoming super apparent to us and super important is our social media. Because I was just on vacation myself last week, and we were TripAdvisoring, we were urban spooning, we were looking for places to eat, things to do. And so we're really putting a big, heavy focus on that just because of our location. And also, I worked at the store for 4 years, and then I bought it like 15 months ago. So we're really in the process of finding what works best for us. But TripAdvisor and Facebook and Instagram and any way we can, which is really hard because I like to do it, but it's a full-time job itself.
My store is just now over 3 years old, and when I began in 2010, my first year, I really think I was kind of throwing darts at a dartboard. And my staff has been with me the whole time. I've had a couple come and go, but the basic two people and myself have been there this entire time. I jumped into my community with both feet. By the end of 2010, I had agreed to become the president of the Merchants Association with all the energy that I have and help the community bring itself even further along. We too are in a historic district. We have about probably 40-50% of our base is tourism. We have a real small town of 3,800, but we're in a pretty decent sized area within driving distance. And so grabbing more of that, keeping them there, was our whole town's challenge. So I looked at my store as just one piece of a big puzzle that has to be constantly worked on. One of the things that we did as a community was create buzz through a budget travel contest, and we became America's coolest small town. And that brought a lot of attention to us, and we won in 2011. It also, from a merchant standpoint, we really fast-tracked what we had to do to keep the attention of a lot of different types of people. And how did we engage and create more relationships? That's what that contest did. Every one of us has a different story about how we approached the customers that we did have, who were our customers. It made us look at every aspect of that. We all really got on board quickly with social media from that point forward. We became Facebook experts. We became now Twitter experts and Pinterest experts. Some of them use Instagram at a higher level than I do. I wound up hiring someone to do all that for me, and she does it so efficiently. She's still just a part-time person, but it's amazing. And it really, to put dollars on that, I probably can't so much, but I can say that the awareness, people see me and go, hey, that recipe, oh my God, that's perfect. I love that. So it just keeps us out front and in that spot in their brain. So that's one way. I also think of sensory when folks walk in my store. It's smell, it's taste, it's visual. I look at my shop in those terms. Usually when we have the higher foot traffic from Thursday through Sunday, I always have a tasting out. I do wine tastings and then our artisan cheese tastings. I do a lot of support through local product, and that really engages the local crowd. Visually, we're constantly changing our merchandising, how everything is out. I didn't do that the first year. I didn't know what I was doing, and now I understand. That has increased sales because of that alone. I know that. I'm always looking at and honing the product lines that I have. What works, what's not working, and if it doesn't work, it just has to go. As much as I may love it, they don't. So I had to just take myself away from some of the products and realize that it's 100% about them and not me.
One of the things that I heard several people say is, one, we've been here in the community for a long time, and word of mouth. Now that presumes that the word is a positive word, and it presumes that you've been in the community for a long time. Those words spread, and they're again positive words. So you must be doing something to create a positive customer experience. So I'd like to talk a little about how you create that customer experience. Do you greet people at the door? What is their experience with your employees? What is their experience with your merchandise? So if we could, and we'll just start with you again, because you already talked a little bit about the customer experience in terms of the sensory experience. So what's that customer experience like in your store?
Well, there's not a customer that they always get greeted. Even if we're in the back and we hear I have a small little Chinese bell on the front door. It's a real subtle thing, and we all know to listen for it. Even if I'm in the back and up to my ears and I'm by myself and in boxes, it's a hey, hi. I mean, it's always an upbeat hello, no matter what. Also, when they open the door, we have a slight ramp. I'm in a historic district, so my building is 1870. It's old, and I'm on the corner at the square, and you come up my door and there's a little ramp, but I've left an area for a pause. It's important in the busy lives that they have a place to simply pause. And you can watch people's body language. They just go, oh, okay. Despite the eye candy that's in front of them, they have a moment to think.
Nicole, even though people only come back maybe once a year, they must come back for a reason and they must remember you. So what's that customer experience they're getting in your store?
They do. Our tagline is Kitchens on the Square, because we're on a square. Our shop faces one of the 20-some squares in Savannah. And then our tagline is Make Your Kitchen Smile. So we answer the phone, thanks for calling Kitchens on the Square. How can we make your kitchen smile? That's our emphasis, and we have funny, irreverent, not too bad, but silly things all around the store. You can walk through my store, again, because I'm not, pots and pans and that type of thing. You can really take your time and visit each little vignette that we have going on. So we entertain those once-a-year customers big time. You get a treat when you come in. So.
There you go. Marlena?
Well, our store is more of a destination. I mean, you have to be coming, you don't just stumble across us. You've got to get in the car and drive. So when you get there, our staff is really good. I mean, a lot of them have been there for 17 years, longer than we've had the store. And they know what they're doing. I mean, I have a core staff of 6 that they know the customers, and it's almost like every employee has their own little niche within customers. There are certain people that come in that, I mean, I can help them with anything that they want, but they don't want me to help them. They want someone else. I mean, they develop a relationship, which I think is good in that I don't have to be the authority, the person that people come to. My staff is able to handle all of those things, and they have their own little customer base, which I think is really, really important.
Okay.
I was just thinking about it. I'm listening. I'm getting so many ideas that I halfway do, but don't really fully do, and I'm just really grateful for this. But mainly, I echo what you all are saying. We want the people to come in and want to come back. They come in, they're greeted, they feel like they're important to us. And not just important because they want to buy something, but we genuinely like them, and we engage them. And in our community, a lot of people are expatriates or imports, and so it's like, where did you come from? How did you get here? What brought you to this community? And we engage them in a personal conversation, and we always have coffee going, and on certain days we have food tastings and things. So, would you like a cup of coffee and a cookie or something? And that's basically how we do it. And like your staff, I have people that they don't want to talk to me, they want to talk to Sandy because they've helped her, and then if Sandy can't help them, she'll come run and get me. And they just feel like they're getting personal, unique customer service. It's just not like going into a department store and the sales associate said, it's over there in the corner. No, how can we create some experience for you and make it a little more special than just picking something off the shelf?
Yeah, that's, I would concur with what you said completely. One of the things that I think that we bring to the table, all of us, or can bring to the table, is us and our own personality and the things that we either believe in or stand for. In my case, a lot of people come by just to chat because they want to talk about health issues, health items, and healthy foods, and what do I think about stevia, and how do I do that, and how do I maybe can cut down on carbs, and what can I substitute. And so that's a source of personal interaction that goes beyond them there just necessarily to buy something or not buy something. I say, hey, look, I'm usually here on Saturdays, come on by. And I do. I have people that come by just to chat. Well, okay, that's sometimes they'd be amazed. They buy things that they'd had no intentions of buying when they came in. So that's one of the things. But they feel good about coming, which is what you're saying, Marilyn, and I agree. I honestly feel we don't execute, and that's the word I'll use, well enough with our staff, because we're either sometimes occasionally I think understaffed, and they're busy and they don't have the time. And I always try to say, look, no matter what you're doing or what gets messed up in the back, I said, really pay attention to your customer, and I would say engage, engage, engage. And, you know, how do you do that? A lot of people say, can I help you? Obviously, you know what you're going to get, right? Just looking. So I always like to greet people with good morning, good afternoon, smile, 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 and let them acclimate themselves to the where they are. And then I'll usually approach them and say, is there anything I can help you find? No, I'm just shopping. Okay, if I can't, if you have any questions, contact me. Have you been in our store? No. Well, do you live in our community? Next thing you know, I find that they're visiting from the Carolinas or something. I said, well, great, how often do you come? And we're really excited that you're here today. So, in other words, personal interaction, I think, goes a long way with the smile and the treatment of the person to making them feel well and making them say, that's a place I like to be a lot.
Art, tell us about the customer experience at Extra Ingredient.
Well, I'm very proud of the vibe at the Extra Ingredient. I mean, that's the best way I could put it. It's a vibe. A lot of times you cannot put into words that what you're trying to create as far as atmosphere. But I have learned that you cannot take it for granted, and that's one of the problems I see, especially as you have been in business a while. We're very fortunate in that we have a staff. Many of my staff members have been with me more than 20 years. So keeping everyone kind of in the mode of not taking it for granted that we have a good vibe requires a lot of training and continual training and making sure people understand it. And that's one thing that I think I get lax, or have in the past gotten lax on. You begin to take for granted that you've got a great store. You take for granted this. Once that happens, it becomes a real problem. And so we, like this time of year, we really are working towards retraining. Even people who've been around for 20-some years need to continually be reminded of what the most important things are. And I think that we actually have for new employees what we call our 12-step program. But we have a 12-day training. And the interesting thing when we have a new employee is that person is trained not on a cash register on the first day or even second day or third day. The cash register comes into about the fourth or fifth day because what I call it the lifeboat. We have a lot of people who just love the lifeboat, and that's just hanging around that register, and they feel like their job is to ring in on the cash register. Well, that's all good, but truly directing the people to what you think is most important is really important to do. So, you know, and a good thing about it too with Martha and I is we are there a lot. So we are not absentee owners. So I think that our employees also feed off of us. So it's very important for us to continually carry that vibe and be careful with everything we do. Negativity has such a way of ruining something in a store, and being positive and continuously upbeat and just making sure your employees know that that customer is the most important thing.
Do you have anything?
When Art says that we are there a lot, we are there all the time. we are always there. There's one of us just about all the time on the floor. And I think that makes a huge difference. I mean, I know my customers' first names, I know their children, I know their grandchildren. I've hired some of my customers' children even, you know, and that makes a big difference, and that helps in the atmosphere of the store. But when you come in our store, the very first thing essentially that hits you is the smell of coffee, because we sell so much coffee. There's coffee always being ground. I mean, I have people that walk in the door and just stand there and inhale, because that's the first thing that hits you immediately. We serve coffee, a free cup of coffee, to anybody who comes in anytime they want it. That goes on from 10 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock at night.
I have this pet peeve of not wanting ever to ask, when the customer walks in the door, how are you, can I help you? That's not really part of our vocabulary in the store. We want to greet them, we want to thank them for coming in. We want to develop conversations with them that turn into relationships. And the key really, just like in life, in developing relationships, is to kind of be awake to what the person in front of you is saying and see what catches their interest and work with them on that and develop relationships that way. And we don't play music in our store. We have the big flat screen TVs that have the food channel and the cooking channel. And so we're very cognizant of, and we do that, you know, to be able to instigate conversations as we see people look up to the TV, you know. But it's really about being awake to your customers' needs, and we love our stuff. I mean, I know I've talked to store owners that carry products that, you know, out of necessity, they don't love them. And I'm like, oh, really? Because, you know, we really love our stuff. And when you love your stuff, customers know that you love your stuff. And that passion speaks for itself. And it's about developing those relationships. Saturdays, we do, every Saturday morning at 11, we have a free demo, a cooking demo. And we don't have a lot of heavy foot traffic in our store. It's growing, but we find the cooking classes generate a lot. If we did a product demo, that wouldn't generate as much buzz as a cooking demo, so we use the cooking demo to demonstrate the products, and that generates a lot of excitement. So it feels like every day there's a different thing to generate excitement and make people feel welcome, like we're happy to see them, which we totally are.
Jim, tell us about the customer experience at Buffalo Hardware.
Well, you get greeted. We have one customer who will constantly remind us, when I come to Buffalo, someone says hello to me within 3 seconds. When I go to so-and-so, I can be in there for 20 minutes and nobody knows I'm there. We, all of our employees have different things they need to take care of, but there is always one, usually 3 people standing up front waiting for the next customer. And we once, one of the buying co-ops we belong to sent by a free consultant and gave us a list of things we needed to work on, which I agree with everything on that list. And I said, but I told him I didn't have time for the people to take care of this stuff. He says, well, you got 3 people up there doing nothing. I said, they're not doing nothing. They're waiting on the next customer. Our customers don't have to make appointments to come see us. They can come whenever they want. And that's their job, is to be up front. And it is. One of the things that we, not by design, but has helped to get repeat business is, and it's also one of our taglines, is that we sell a lot of stuff, but our business is solving your problems. And that applies to the cooking side and the whole hardware side. And very often, or at least sometimes, people will come in and they have a problem and we solve it, and they don't need to buy anything because what they have will work fine. They just needed the information. And there are times where we really emphasize that if you need to buy something, get something that's appropriate. If you do this once every 2 years, you don't need the best widget there is in the business, because you're never going to wear it out. You'll probably lose it before you need it again. Nicole and her once-a-year customers, we have quite a few tourists, and those are the best, because when somebody comes to Houston and buys a coffee pot, you will never see that coffee pot again. It is now in North Carolina. We love tourists.
Great. Now, even the best customer experience can be ruined by a bad last impression. So you always want to leave, I would assume, a good last impression. So just in one sentence or 2 sentences, I want to just quickly go around the table, and Jim, we'll start with you again. What is the last impression you create when your customer leaves the store, and how do you do it, and what is it?
I try and have them smiling. I've always been kind of a cut-up and find some humor. So I want them to leave having had a good time in our store.
Great. Susan?
We never hand anything over the counter. We walk around, hand them their parcel, look them in the eye. Thank you so much for coming in. Can't wait to see you again.
Great.
I look right at them and say, thank you for your business.
Ditto.
Well, that's a lot of thank yous.
Always want to be sure that we thank them for their business. I love what you just said. I tend to do the same thing, but I didn't realize that I did that, and that's just because it's my nature to sometimes get closer. Being somewhat a Hispanic background, I don't have a problem with space, so I tend to sort of get closer to them, and I want to hand it to them. But you've made it more of a process, which I think is really. I like that. I think that's great. And obviously the smile and thanking them and hope we'll see you again soon.
You took my 2 sentences. Just we do the same thing. We carry the bags out, smile, we're so happy to see you, and come back, just make it as friendly as possible.
Yeah, I always offer to carry the bags out.
Wow. Marlene?
We do the same thing. We do carry bags out for our customers. Most of them are women, and we thank them. And if they do buy off the bridal registry, we give them a little card that it's a registry rewards card that brings them back for $5 off their next purchase, just to keep us in their mind. And it's like a little business card that goes in their wallet, so they think of us anytime they're doing something else. And it has the calendar on the back, so it has our information and telephone numbers on the front, and on the back side a calendar. So just kind of a little remember me.
Great.
The thank you, looking straight in the face, that's so important. I grew up in retail in Nordstrom, and that's where I always learned you were in big trouble if you handed something over the counter. You walked around and put it in the customer's hand. So I have a strong background in customer service as it is, but saying thank you so much straight in your eye, and trying to remember we have a little rack card that is return 10 or 15% off your next purchase, which sometimes they come back like 5 minutes later, and that's okay, whatever. And then our website, mentioning our website, and a return, thank you for your business, please come again.
Tamara?
I do the thank you. I too am a bit of a cut up, and I love it when people laugh as they go out the door, because we've been cutting up over the counter. But one of the most profound things is when I say the thank you, and then add on, I really appreciate you shopping in our town. And I've had people stop in their tracks when you say the word appreciate. It's a wonderful reaction, and then they come back.
How many of you, and I'll just by a quick show of hands, do anything to capture your customers' information in your store? Everybody, except Jim. Okay. Well, just kind of quickly, how do you do it?
We have our customer loyalty program, and which is the $6 program as a foundation, and we have a website, sign up, and we do a lot with Facebook.
Okay. How do you capture that information?
We have what's called the Extras program, and you join our Extras program, which is a customer loyalty program. It's name, address, email address.
Birthday.
Oh, birthday, that's a great idea. Birthday.
There we go, see?
Well, also, we have a coffee loyalty card. That's a real important part. So people really get into that. Every time someone buys 10 pounds of coffee, they get a pound free. And one person asked me, why don't you all put this on the computer? Well, we don't. We have it all in little card files and everything we have. And I think people like that kind of homespunness to it, because we handwrite people's names, and, it's fun.
Do several things. We are hip, though. We use the POS. No, I'm kidding. But I do want to talk to you again, Susan, about that box. I know I've spoken with you before, and I want to know more about that. We have a really professionally done newsletter. It's just fabulous. And so we make sure that we have it on display, and we show people the newsletter, and I'd say easily 9 out of 10 will immediately sign up, and in there they give us all their information, including the most important one for us, which is their email. So that works pretty darn well.
From my side, all my clients from the design side, I give them all special discounts as they're building the house to come in and try to generate things. And then some of it carries over, and then once in a while if someone's there and they've been a really good client, we'll just offer them a discount just off the spot, just because, things like that.
We have a really good point of sale system that interfaces also with our website, so we can have the shared customers. They can set up the account and store their information, credit card numbers and that sort of thing. We don't have a difficult time getting names and addresses, but email addresses seem to be something that people are getting a lot more guarded about giving us. And we don't send out a lot of emails. We don't do a lot of email blasts, but I just see that that's something that people are a lot more reluctant to give than they used to be. I don't know if anybody else has that issue, but we do.
We do, and we have a book to write your email address in. But we also, around the store, people take a lot of pictures, and so we have little phones that say like us on Facebook and win a prize, or Instagram something or tweet something, and you get, those little Twix-Its? They have the old logo on them, so I'm still giving those away. But I'm just giving a little prize for liking or checking in or anything like that, because then they're your Facebook friend. So, and I think that people are leaning more towards that kind of thing for impersonal connections, because you can, it's not clogging your inbox. You can just scroll through your feed. So Facebook is and Instagram and all of that.
I use a mix of everything. Facebook, obviously, we are doing real well with that through all the social media and capturing them. We do have also out on the counter a place for them if they would like. We only do about 2 emails a month, unless it's a specialized list. They'll get a third one, and they're willing to and happy to share their email there at the register, but we get to engage in conversation about it. Then I created, because I saw a lot of the folks that were traveling through, they were bringing in Aunt Betty, and they were bringing in Cousin Sue, and they were bringing in their friend from Charleston. And I thought, well, I need to reward them on the spot. So I created a business card. It's basically my business card, which is around, and you flip it over, and on the back it just says $5, any way you want to spend it. And they love it. It's got a short duration, 30 days. I sign off on them in groups of 30-day expires. And they flip that right back around and come back in. Another thing that we created was called a Deb card. We've got, and everybody goes, we have this sign, it's like, what's a Deb card? So it's at the register, and a Deb card is you're a drinker, you're an eater, or you're a buyer. If you're a drinker, we take you back to the wine shelves, and they go through, and as they're purchasing their wines, we have a real boutique collection of wines. They write down, and then we engage in education and conversation about their favorite wines. If they're an eater, most of the time we're tracking the artisanal cheese that they picked up for their party that they've forgotten the name of. So it's a place for us to list their favorites. And then if they're a buyer, on their 6th visit, we calculate and we stand there at the register, and it's old school. You stand there and you write this down. Their totals of each of their purchases for 5 purchases on their 6th purchase, we tally all that up, and 10% of that amount that gets off that 6th purchase. And they love seeing it, tracking how much money they're spending. And then at the end, their reward is, they've spent $600. Man, I get $60 off of whatever I come in on that day. So it creates that excitement, and they really love that hands-on. So those are the things that we use.